welcome, everybody. We're going to get this party on the road. I know it's Friday, and a lot of people could be stuck in traffic, but we thank you for being on time, and we want to let you clap it up for being here tonight. We're excited. We have a great conversation that's going to take place. We got some iconic people here tonight, and so we're thankful you came out tonight. And this event is hosted by Malik Books. How many of y'all have been to Malik Books? All right. How many of y'all know that Malik Books has been doing this work and being part of the Black Book Revolution for 35 years? 35 years now, come on now, you know that's a milestone. I got the back surgery and the scars that reminds me of that, but the greatest thing that I recall doing, and I was asked this when I was on the radio, and I had to think, I wish he would have told me about that question ahead of time, because, you know, one of the things I said was my scars and my back surgery there, because books are not light, they heavy. And doing it for so long, I had to have back surgery. It reminds me of a time when black books wasn't it for most people. They would just walk by and look at it. But the reality is our stories and our voice matters, doesn't it? And so I'm thankful. So I said, them scars remind me of all the years of this work that I had to do to being part of the Black Book Revolution that took place all over the country, all right? It's because we move stronger as one than individuals. So I like to believe that I was part of a mission and a movement. And so, but one of the things that I think that I've done that's so immensely rewarding is to see the joy on youth and children's lives when we give them a book with an image on it that look like them. You know, I didn't grow up with books like that. So I'm thankful and grateful that I've been able to do this work for so long. And so we celebrated Saturday at Malik Books in the Westfield Culver City Mall. We had a big celebration, 35 years, 35% off of the entire store. We did that also at our other location at Baldwin Hills, but our big celebration was at Westfield Culver City. We had the DJ, and it was nice, and the community came out, and I was very grateful. They came out, and they thanked us for all the years, and I want to thank you for coming out tonight because, you know, it's the holiday season. So people shopping. So this is a little different than shopping, right? We going shopping for your mind today. And so I wanted just to make sure I mentioned the 35 years. But I could talk about Malik's and the work we do, but I believe children are 100% of our future. And so I got a little special trailer. Well, it's not a trailer. This is a music video that we put together with our mission and our brand, and it can tell you more about us than I can tell you, all right? So let's play that music video, Malik Books.
Yeah, it's DR. Look, Malik Books has all the knowledge you want. Malik Books has all the knowledge you need. Malik Books, yeah, they have all the books that the whole wide world wanna read. Malik Books, they carry all the rarest books. Malik Books, you know it's hard to find these. Malik Books, to feed your intellect and free your mind and succeed at the same time. Malik Books is what you need. You know Malik got all the books you've been seeking for you to read after work or pick up on the weekend. And if you need a book for the kids to be inspired, you know Malik Books is where the children books reside. They got everything from black poetry to history. Answers to your heritage is no longer a mystery. Wanna find stories about black glory? Malik Books has all of the inventory. Wanna find a book on how to build a black business? Wanna find a book on how to cure financial illness? Or what about a book on how to stop being a victim? Take control of your life and make it about the system. Malik has the books to help you with your wealth, and if you seeking guidance, books to help you find yourself, and recipes, remedies to help you with your health, and whatever you need, just know they got it on the shelf. Yeah, Malik Books has all the knowledge you want. Malik Books has all the knowledge you need. Malik Books. Yeah, they have all the books that the whole wide world wanna read. Malik Books. They carry all the rarest books. Malik Books. You know it's hard to find these. Malik Books. To feed your intellect and free your mind and succeed at the same time. Malik Books is what you need.
They say a video is worth 10,000 words. You know, they say. So that's why we put that together, because, you know, we in a fight for the minds of our youth. And our youth is 100% of our future. If we don't pass the torch to them, do we have someone that would take the mantle? They are the future. So we have to get to the kids, the youth, the children. So we do a lot of work with our children. We've been able to give out since 2000, and I believe the last 2-3 years, we gave out, partnered with different organizations and corporations. We've given out over 10,000 books to our youth in the communities. And so that's something we're proud about, because children are 100% of our future. I didn't grow up with books like that, but that video is just a reflection of our passion. Me and my wife, April, you know, this is Malik 2.0. I've been doing this 35 years, but I think that, you know, I got to acknowledge her, because together we teamwork make the dream work. So, yeah, but I'm very grateful and thankful. So tonight, we're going to have this conversation about turf wars. But before I introduce our moderator tonight, I need to play another trailer, because I got a new an event coming up, kicking off Black History Month in February 4th, right here at the Miracle Theater. We got the billionaire coming to the neighborhood, Robert Smith. Who heard of Robert Smith? Raise your hand. Now, he spent $40 million paying off student loans at Morehouse. You know, that don't happen just any day. But he come into LA to talk about Lead Boldly, the 7 principles of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so that's taking place right here. So if you don't have your ticket, go to malikbooks.com, get your ticket. But I have a special person who's a trailblazer, who was the moderator for this event. And I just want to play this trailer on her, because she opened up doors in the NFL. Jane Kennedy. She gonna be here to moderate him. Let's play that trailer, my brother, for those who forgot about Jane Kennedy.
Born in Washington, D.C. in 1951, she quickly rose to prominence with her dazzling smile and undeniable talent. An actress, model, sportscaster, and beauty queen, she's worn many hats and worn them well. Crowned Miss Ohio USA in 1970, she broke barriers as one of the first African-American women to win a major pageant title. She didn't stop there, though. Jane took Hollywood by storm, starring in films and TV shows, becoming a beloved figure on the silver screen. But her talents weren't just confined to acting and modeling. Jane made history again as one of the first women to break into the male-dominated world of sports broadcasting. From beauty queen to Hollywood star to sportscasting pioneer, Jane Kennedy. Overton's story is a testament to the power of breaking barriers and challenging the status quo. Here's to the extraordinary journey of an extraordinary woman.
She gonna moderate Robert Smith. I mean, she didn't know how the impact that she made. I've been doing different events with her this last year, because her new book is called Plain Jane, and she didn't know the impact that she made to so many men and women that made them believe that they could be sports commentators, all right? Because she did it back years ago. I think it was in the 80s. I never forgot her. And so I'm getting her back to what she was known for, interviewing. You know, so she won Emmys, she won all kind of awards. So she gonna moderate Robert Smith. But I got a trailer for Robert Smith that I want to play right now.
This dude is the richest person of color in this country.
Robert F. Smith is a billionaire, technology investor, and philanthropist who shares both his wealth and his knowledge. In 2019, Smith did something that shocked thousands of people.
As you know, 5 years ago, I paid off the student loans for over 400 graduates of Morehouse College at a cost of over $40 million.
Kicking off Black History Month with Jane Kennedy in conversation with the billionaire Robert Smith. They're going to be talking about Lead Boldly, the 7 principles of Dr. Martin Luther King. Listen, it's going down February 4th, 2026, and it's at the Miracle Theater. Go to MalikBooks.com to get your tickets. Go to MalikBooks.com to get your tickets. Yes. See, you know, it ain't every day you meet a billionaire. Come on. Despite oppression, despite racism, despite coming out from slavery, this brother is a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? So it can be done, right? Come on now. You got to believe to achieve. You know, a lot of us got shackles on our heads. We live in America today. Opportunity is now, and we can do it. So I'm grateful to be able to host him in the future. We kicking off Black History Month with the billionaire, Robert Smith. So get your tickets, go to MalikBooks.com. Now, I got a trailer for Turf Wars, all right? Put together by D, all right? So we're gonna start that trailer. I'm gonna introduce our moderator, Cheryl Miller, and we're gonna get this thing on the road, all right? We here tonight, right? We here to talk about Turf Wars. All right, yeah. The fight for the soul of America. So our moderator today, and I went to school with her at USC. So, you know, it ain't every day that our roads cross and our paths become one. And tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing to Cheryl Miller, who is a WNBA Hall of Famer in basketball, right? An Olympic gold medalist. All right. She's a former WNBA head coach and general manager, sportscaster, and one of the top 5 women collegiate basketball players in NCAA history. Cheryl Miller is a basketball legend who helped elevate women in games, right? So we want to bring her out with a thunderous round of applause. Cheryl Miller!
Something else. You haven't changed a bit from SC days. A little more salt, a little more salty, and pepper, but you're still handsome. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is a treat for me. I get the opportunity to reintroduce, because I had the pleasure of co-professoring at USC, and he was one of our guests. So let me introduce you to DeMaurice Fitzgerald Smith. He is a former executive director of the National Football League Players Association from 2009 to 2023. Prior to that, he was an assistant United States attorney, where he was a homicide violent crime and terrorism prosecutor, counsel to the U.S. Deputy Attorney General, and a partner in major law firms. He is currently a law and business professor in residence, and now to add to his list, a very talented author. Please, warm welcome for D. Morris Fitzgerald Smith. Fitzgerald, it's regal. It's very regal. Look, when you first texted me about your book, I had the opportunity of reading Jamel Hill in her memoir and Candace Parker. And so I was praying that the dates didn't add up because I didn't want to take on another book, number one, if it wasn't going to be good, and you did not disappoint. It is brilliant. And I texted you after the first couple of pages and said, what did I say? I said, I'm having some kind of feelings about the NFL. So with that being said, I've done my research, Dee. The NFL's been around, if you guys don't know, since 1920, correct? And I wanted to break down the racial composition of the league. 53.5 make up the black players, 22%. The head coaches are black, only 22%, and as far as black ownership, 0. So with that being said, is the NFL racist? Yeah, it's working. Hey, we're just keep it 100%, because look, I've read the book. True.
So to answer your question
Here.
To answer your question, is the NFL racist? The NFL is a racist structure. It just is. I mean, I talk about how the National Football League is a socialistic structure because they privatize their wealth, they socialize their cost. And when it comes to race, they have built their own ecosystem where I think it is intentional that they want that ecosystem to reflect the people who own the teams, not the people who do the work. Mm-hmm. And so when I wrote an article for Yale about the Rooney Rule. Players get fined if their socks are too low. Players get fined if their jerseys are untucked. Players get fined if they hit somebody on the field and it's a penalty. Literally, the NFL rule book is hundreds of pages about the rule. The only rule that I know that the NFL chooses not to follow is the Rooney Rule.
Wow. And get away with it.
And get away with it. So they know how to enforce rules. They know how to write rules. The only rule that they designed to increase minority representation among coaches and front offices is the only rule that they choose not to follow. So I'm left with one conclusion.
Okay.
That you choose to not follow it because it is inconsistent with what you want to do. And that is what we call a racist. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I mean, look, and I tend to be really blunt in turf wars.
Yes.
I wanted to write a book that wasn't a football book.
Which it's not.
It is not, and it is not for the faint of heart.
No, it isn't.
But you and I, well, first of all, Cheryl Miller is like the only athlete that makes me nervous. I mean, I've been with Tom Brady, I've been with Drew Brees, but nobody scored 105 points in a game. I mean, let's just can we just go somewhere and sit down? Just I mean, if I gotta listen to Aaron Rodgers one more time.
Wow.
But you and I, I come from a being the executive director. You broke so many barriers and endured so many things that you have a very real understanding of what sport is in America, and I have a really real understanding about what sport is in America. And look, here are the great things. Is it an opportunity to do what you love? 100%.
Yes.
Play with people that you love, the locker room, being joined with people on a common mission, achieving things where you're growing up both as a person. All those things are fantastic about sports. But it would be remiss for us to not mention the other side of sport is, when it comes to women's sport, is the locker room worse than the men's? Yes. Are the training facilities worse than the men? Yes. You go to, it was a few years ago when they broke that story about the NCAAs and they showed the women's workout facilities and the men's workout facilities. Look, I just made a decision that if we're going to talk about the beauty of sport, let's make sure that we understand the things that aren't beautiful about sport and try to fix them.
Well, then you've drawn some really strong parallels between the owners and how power works in America today.
Yeah.
Can you break down that comparison?
Well, look, I started writing Turf Wars in 2016. We had just started to represent Colin Kaepernick. The anthem protests were building with players. If you remember, the president gave a speech in Huntsville, Alabama, one night where he said, "Wouldn't it be great if these owners fired these sons of bitches who were kneeling?" And I am absolutely positive that the president didn't understand that he had just called every NFL player's mother.
Yes.
And again, where we come from.
It was heard.
Oh, yeah. Where we come from, that is the laying of hands moment.
Right.
You know, that is the Gaddafi line of death. And so I knew then that I wanted to write a book that not only told the stories of what I was going through and telling them from the perspective of the players, but I started off with this frame that the NFL, for good, and honestly I mean this, mostly for bad, the NFL has now become the cultural epicenter of America. Think about it. I mean, the games start with the unfolding of the flag, there's the flyover, they have people inducting themselves into the military, it's red, white, and blue, it's a cultural moment. And I wanted to write a book that where the frame was, okay, the NFL is like a microcosm of America. And then the longer I went through that, and then, you know, Deshaun Watson, and then, you know, finishing the Kaepernick case, I came to the conclusion that, man, America is now being run like the NFL. A small number of billionaires who have an outside control over literally everything. Healthcare, media, our ability to engage in international commerce. I mean, the fact that there is a small billionaire class that is literally controlling almost every aspect of our lives. I've been there as the executive director, and I know the most salient characteristic of a billionaire is not that they hate you. It's not that they are even racist. The most salient characteristic of a billionaire is they are indifferent to our existence. Just indifferent. And that's terrifying to me. I know, all went there and everything.
No, because I want to, since you've opened up that door, and I'm gonna skip ahead now. I'm gonna skip ahead because you've been a part of so many defining and controversial moments, and I really want you to share a key lesson that you learned, and you've already spoken. I want to come back to Colin, but let's start with the one that I remember the most, Ray Rice.
You know, look, Ray was, the Ray Rice case was the most morally conflicting for me. You know, I'm a father of a daughter, right? But I'm a union leader. And I watched that video of what happens between he and his fiance at the time, wife now, and your first instinct is, you know, I could revert quickly back to my prosecutor days where man, I'm coming to get you.
Exactly.
Uh,
We're looking at serious jail time.
we are coming to get you.
Yeah.
And but in the National Football League context, I'm also the head of the union, and every union member has a right that I defend them. So you get over the anger and the outrage of what you're seeing, and then you have to shift into this different place where now my job is to defend him. And I'm not defending him in the criminal case. I'm defending him in the agreement between the players and the owners about what's supposed to happen. And so if you remember, Roger suspends him, I think, for 3 games the first time. There's a national outcry. He suspends him
Because there's a second video and more
Yeah.
revealing.
Yeah, the
video
third
that
time.
came the third time.
Yeah, so he suspends him for 3 games the first time. A lot of people, react. Sponsors react. And that's another little lesson, right? The way sponsors react changed the way that he made his decision. So then he suspends Ray for 6 games. The second video comes out, and then he suspends Ray indefinitely. And, for me, you go from the horror of what happens in that elevator as a father and as a husband and all this stuff. But then, when I switch into the frame of, well, wait, that's inconsistent with the agreement between the players and the owners. He's now been punished 3 times for the same thing. And again, nobody gets punished indefinitely. So Ray Rice became that moment where I had to grow up. There's a part of you, and then look, the best job I ever had was being a homicide prosecutor. I know it sounds crazy. Oh. I had more fun in a day in that job than in 15 years of my last job. Because you just go get bad people.
Right.
So you have to shift from that go get bad people to, wait,
A bad thing as opposed to a bad person.
100%. Bad thing happens.
Yes.
Now I'm there to enforce the agreement between the players and the owners. And when the league starts to as they did, they had to come out and say that Ray wasn't truthful. And again, the most defining moment in that entire saga was Ozzie Newsome was the, at the time,
Yes.
the general manager of the Ravens. And Ozzie Newsome came out and said, Ray never lied. He never lied.
That blew up.
And that blew up the whole thing.
Yes.
So we sue the league, and he ends up, they reverse the punishments. And then the fight becomes over Ray's guaranteed money. And the guaranteed money in NFL world is by a signing bonus.
Yes.
And the way the rules work, if you give a guy money and a signing bonus, that's 100% guaranteed. They wanted to take that money back, so now you're fighting over that. And it goes back to even Michael Vick.
Right.
So Michael Vick gets convicted for, horrible treatment of dogs. It's horrible. But the Falcons had given Michael Vick tons of money as a guaranteed contract. And so that job becomes fighting for the guarantees of the players. And literally, after Ray Rice, I kind of made sort of a hard line shift to, I now know what my job is.
Okay.
I don't have to like you, but I do have to represent you. And I don't have any problem representing you like a dog, right? I mean,
Right.
And I was a terrible athlete. My high school football coach is still in therapy. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's moving on to solid foods now. But that athletic mind of when you shift to go time. The go time now is, okay, my job is to be a union leader. I don't necessarily have to like the people that I'm representing, but my job is to represent them. And when it's go time, I'm going to go 150%.
Now let's shift to, you already spoke about him a little bit, Colin Kaepernick, the national anthem, and Donald Trump. Yeah. First term.
Yeah, wow.
Trump 101.
Yeah, Trump 101, which we thought was batshit crazy until 10 months ago. I will never forget, because I didn't get the call until like 10 o'clock at night that he had given this speech. in Huntsville. And of course, what led up to the speech, Colin kneels for the first time in the second preseason game.
Now, let me ask you something before we,
Yep.
I'm sorry to interrupt you on that. Of all the players, looking back, of all the players to make a stance like that, were you surprised it was him? I know I was.
I was.
Because I never saw that one coming.
I was floored.
Okay.
Floored. I mean, I could probably throw out 40 names that I thought would have been people who would have done that before him.
Right.
It just came out of nowhere. And so he kneels in the second game of a preseason. He sat in the first preseason game. He kneels in the second preseason game. My head of communications calls me and says, you know, Colin has knelt during the national anthem. This is going to be a thing. And so we talked about it that night. It's probably 8 o'clock after the preseason game. I did not watch the preseason game. I mean, who watches a preseason game? And I'll have the gun to my head, maybe.
The executive director.
Oh my God, there's just no chance I'm watching a preseason game. And we made the decision that night. We called a journalist who writes for The Nation, a really good guy, a guy named Dave Zirin. And that night, I gave the first press conference about Colin kneeling because I knew that this thing was going to explode.
You had to get ahead of it.
And you had to get ahead of it. And my one, the one thing that I wish Colin had done was if you were going to do that, you have to understand the necessity of laying the groundwork from a communication strategy ahead of time. Because, I mean, you know that the way the press reacts, right? And if you haven't laid the groundwork, they are going to pick their own narrative. And I wanted to get, a narrative in the ground for two reasons. One, he had said that this was nothing about the flag, this was not about the military, this was not about America, this was about police brutality.
Right.
Which, even if you think about it, a few years before, Los Angeles Rams players came out of the tunnel right after Ferguson. They came out of the tunnel with their hands up. So Colin actually wasn't even the first person to make a protest about police brutality. So that was the importance of giving the article. But the other reason I did it is I wanted our players to hear from the union head what this was about. Because the last thing I want is, shots being fired internally. And look, I'm not Pollyanna. I know that a lot of our players didn't support Colin. I know a lot of our players skew to a certain right side of things. What I wanted them to hear was that a player has made a statement and the union is going to protect his right to make that statement. And you, as the other players, have to respect that. You don't have to agree with him.
Right.
So, we did, and then you fast forward, players start to kneel as a part of that. And then when the president gave that press conference, it exploded, and
it galvanized the players.
It absolutely did. And I've said this before, the best time that I ever had in the job was during Kaepernick and Anthem.
You said you were the most proud of the players.
Yeah, because, again, I love the idea of our players. I will tell you that, I'm being careful because she's right here. I will tell you that athletes in the moment who enjoy what they're doing have the power of singular thought.
True.
And that's why you're able to do the things that you do. And everything else that is not focused on the mission, the training, the playbook, how we're going to win this game, how am I going to move it into the next game, how do I take care of my body, how do I make sure that my injuries are taken care of, is everybody else around me the supporting cast, are they going to play their roles? I mean, that power of singular thought is what propels, fantastic athletes. I know that our players at the moment, that's where they are, but that was the only time that I saw across the NFL a group of players who decided, oh no, we're going to be about the game. But man, some dude came after us. I might not agree with Colin, but we are all going to lock arms together. And that was I have never been more proud of our guys than that.
Concussion litigation.
Yeah. When I took the job in 2009, I know it sounds like a punchline to a joke, but in 2009, the head of the league's concussion committee was a rheumatologist. They cared
Hence litigation.
Right.
Hence the word litigation.
They cared so little about the health and safety of the players when it came to concussions that the head of their committee was a rheumatologist, an aches and pains doctor. And the name of the committee, I'm not making this up, the name of the committee was called the Mild Traumatic Brain Injury Committee. Mild? What traumatic brain injury is mild? And literally, so, we've all probably seen the movie Concussion. I was the first person to hire Dr. Amalu, who had done the seminal studies on CTE. The league has never met with him to this day. So we made the decision in 2010, 2011, that we not only needed to change the rules to kind of protect players, but we needed to change the culture. And right after Anthem, the other thing that I'm most proud about our players, and I get it, I love our guys. And I can say this because I have a son and a daughter. I love the daughter more. I just do, because smarter, cares about me more, is not likely to leave me in a mall when I'm 90. I love my boy to death, but that dude's gonna be like, hey man, I put you in front of B.F. Chang's, I'll see you later. But, the boys just have a frontal lobe development where I became an adult like an hour ago. And so I looked at our guys, and when they bought in to this idea that we're gonna play football in a really hard way, but to borrow a line from Eric Winston, and that kind of became the mantra, I can remember him standing up in front of the players when we kind of introduced this thing about we're just gonna change the way concussions are dealt with. And Eric said something that I thought players would never dig. He said, you know what, we play hard, but it's kind of okay for us to take care of each other. I mean,
Imagine that.
Imagine that. And so, what you see now, if a player is concussed on a field, another player waves people.
Oh, waves people on.
Right.
And I find that fascinating because that had to take a lot of time to change that mentality, because back in the day, these guys would play without helmets.
100%.
And it was a badge of honor to get your bell rung.
And stagger back onto the field.
And stagger back on.
Right?
Forget your wife's name and everything else.
100%.
Cannot remember your kid's name.
Break that little ammonia capsule.
And get back on the field.
In. And when that changed, it took about 2 years. And by the way, it was sometimes hand-to-hand combat with guys. But the only way that I knew how to deal with them was when the guys were in a locker room and they would say, D, no, I'm a football player. It's what I do. I'm a gladiator. No, you're not. The gladiators were always less human.
Right.
They were less human than the people in the stands pointing their thumbs up or thumbs down about whether you die or not. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty sure when you go home, your baby girl or your baby son does not call you a gladiator. Your wife doesn't call you a gladiator. Your mom and dad don't call you a gladiator. So why would you adopt this thing that makes you subhuman? Right. And that took 2 years. And I will never forget Jason Witten, tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Jason, if you go to the Star down in Dallas, and I do a horrible Jerry Jones imitation, which we can do later if we want. He's the undead, by the way. There is a picture hanging in the Star right above the team locker room, and it is a photo of Jason Witten running down the field to make a tackle with no helmet. It's a glorification.
It is.
Of a person who is literally willing in that moment to suffer a catastrophic brain injury. That's on the wall at the Star. And what happened after that was a scene where he gets knocked almost clean out.
Right.
A player picks up his helmet. He goes to the sideline. Witten wants to come into the game, and the player won't give him his helmet back. And that's when I knew. A player did not give Jason Witten his helmet back. And that's when I knew that these guys had all decided it's kind of okay if we take care of each other.
Okay, so take me through the timeline from what you just said to, and I'm going to go right into your book on page 124 where you're addressing the players, a team.
Yeah.
And you say, my name is DeMaurice Smith, and I don't care about the game of football. I care about the men who play it. I remind them that they can repeat whatever mantra they wish, telling themselves they're part of the supposed NFL family. But what's the point of being in a billionaire's family if you'll never be in the will? This, I explained, is a business relationship, nothing more. And you can give the team your body and your brain, but after you retire, the owners will still charge you full price for tickets.
Yeah.
And I'm reading this, and he's wondering why his phone's being blown up, and I'm texting him. Was that a hard sell to the players from the very beginning you took that position as executive director, and why?
It was a hard sell because, look, I love our guys, but again, going to that thing of singular thought, they have grown up watching their heroes on TV, and they've all dreamt of maybe there's one day when I walk across that stage and I'm drafted and I'm a part of the family. And they are at a certain disadvantage because for most athletes today, probably not for our era, but for most athletes today, a job in professional sports is their first job. They've never had a paper route.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Mowing lawns.
Paper route. I worked
Walking
at Jerry's
dogs.
Sub Shop. Anything. You did anything.
Right.
These guys don't. And so when they walk across that stage, like emotionally, I always had a problem with them hugging Roger Goodell like he was their dad.
Yeah.
Because, and what I would tell them is, man, the next time you meet that cat, he's suspending you. You will never see him again.
Or fined.
Oh, you will never meet Roger again until he says you're suspended for 4 games. Right. He's not going to invite you to dinner. There's not going to be some sort of like you and him going to Disneyland. There's none of that. There's no couples massage. It's not going to happen. And so they come across the stage and you watch the draft. We've all seen the draft.
Yes. Yeah,
They
the
walk
bro
along-
hug.
Oh, and the dapping and the
Yes.
thing. And
Yes.
I'm like,
Yes.
I mean, look, Eric Holder gave me a job to be his chief counsel. I shook his hand. Tom Boggs gave me a job at Latham and Watkins. I shook his hand. I knew it was, look, we dig it, and it's great, and it's fine, but it's transactional. And so I think it was a hard sell for the players because I made a tactical decision or a real decision that I needed to hurt their feelings.
Right. Period.
Period. I have to hurt your feelings because I think that look, the people who play at your level are given certain gifts, physically, mentally. But I have, in 15 years of this job, I have come to realize that what separates the people who are great high school athletes from great college athletes and great college athletes who are great pro athletes is their own emotional development.
And that can dictate how long they stay in that profession.
100%. And if you know, and your ability to build your emotional palace of how I fit into this whole thing, where there's no high highs, there's no low lows.
Right.
Man, I'm going to say it again, score 105 points a game. You know, one night.
I did pass.
Right. And but then, you know, one day you know
Right.
that you're going to have an off game. But you can't live in this high, low, high, low, high, low world. So, you know, Cheryl Miller is the no high highs, no low lows, right? And so for our guys, I know that EQ, that emotional intelligence that they have, the only way that I can make a difference with them is to break that. Because they have to get out of this emotional thing that, yes, you play the game, you play for a team, you want to win, that's great. The National Football League is a business. It is transactional.
Right.
And I've got to break you out of this thing where, you know, you walk across the stage and Roger literally tells everybody, welcome to the NFL family. And my thing about family is, man, I understand on a pretty granular level what family means to me.
Right.
It ain't that. So for them, they have to be shocked out of it, right? And the way they react to it when they hear it the first time is they're angry at me because how dare you break the dream? And then you just slowly unpack it, right? Because you know there's somebody in this locker room who got hurt
Right.
and somebody took their job. And so the way that I would tell the rookies, because we would have them the day before the draft, congratulations for making it to the National Football League. There's only 250 of you. Only 250 guys make it to the National Football League every year. That's it. Only 250. I'm proud of you for what you've done. I'm proud of you for your accomplishment, but you need to understand this. The only reason the 250 of you are in this room is you have now taken a job away from 250 guys.
Right.
You just took food off of 250 guys' plates. And that's okay, because those guys took 250 dudes' jobs. But that's what this is.
So, let's say before they ever sign that first contract,
Yeah.
what would you want the college and the professional athletes to understand how the professional sports works? Well, give me your bullet points.
Yeah, first of all, you're not in the family.
Number one, and it's transactional.
It's transactional. Number two, here's the reality. You have more agency in college.
Now.
Well, I would start off with saying you have more agency in college because in college, at least you're picking your school. I mean, I had one scholarship offer.
At Liberty University.
Woo-woo!
Clearly,
It only takes one, though.
Clearly,
It
yes.
only takes one.
Yes. And my dad wouldn't let me go. Literally, he would not
wow.
let me go.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
No.
Wow.
Wouldn't let me go. I mean, somebody here had 300 offers?
I guess.
I forget.
I guess.
But a college athlete, at least, you know, for a college athlete who's going to go play at a high level, is probably choosing between 4 or 5
Absolutely.
schools, right?
Yes.
All of that ends when you get to the pros. When you're drafted, you don't pick your team.
No.
So my first thing would be you're not a part of the family. Second, when you come into the professional arena, you have less agency than you're going to have as a college player. And the last thing is, for me, for football, the injury rate is 100%. And your average career is 3.3 years.
The average is 3.3 years.
3.3. So football in the National Football League, do not ever say the word career to me. You are not going to have a career. You're going to have a hot cup of coffee.
You're going to be here for
3.3 years. You're going to be in the league for a shorter amount of time than you were in college.
All right, Dylan, let me ask you this. So
Yep.
you mentioned college, and let's bring in the NIL
Yep.
deals.
Yeah.
So an incoming college player, does he have more agencies, the word you like to use?
Yep.
Now because of,
Oh, yeah.
okay, so they're in a
100%.
far better position.
They're in a far better position
In what
financially,
respect?
and they're in a far, and from an agency standpoint, I mean,
And
look,
power, how much power and agency do they have now with the NIL deal in place?
I think you're looking at players now, I think you're looking at players now in the NIL system that are making the same business decisions that coaches would make in college sports for the last 50 years. I mean, let's be blunt, right? I mean, and I know USC is close and dear to our heart,
Right.
but Pete Carroll, I'm just being honest.
Be honest.
Pete Carroll runs an NIL deal before NIL with Reggie Bush.
Oh, absolutely.
And Reggie Bush is being paid to be a player. Reggie Bush loses the Heisman. USC gets the death penalty.
And Pete Carroll.
And Pete Carroll goes into
Goes to Seattle.
he goes into the transfer portal.
He did. He did. He
So
bounced.
Pete Carroll was in the transfer
no
portal
residue.
with
With
no,
no
residue.
residue.
Pete Carroll went into the transfer portal before there was a transfer portal.
Yeah.
So now you flip it around, and now these players are making a decision that I'm going to go into the transfer portal because I'm going to get paid more money from somewhere else, or I'm going to get more playing time somewhere else, or I don't fit into this coach's scheme somewhere else. And then you have to listen to these coaches on TV saying, the transfer portal is ruining college sports. And I'm like, whoa, champion. I mean, has anybody seen Lane Kiffin?
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, that dude must not unpack a bag wherever he goes, because why would you? I mean, clearly he's renting a
And
house.
it's doing well for his bank account.
He's doing quite well.
He's killing it.
I mean, Matt Rule, come on, he's still getting paid by the Carolina Panthers. So, my thing is like, look, it's just why have the hypocrisy?
Right.
So now students, and look, I can take it to my own personal level. My son got one scholarship offer to play lacrosse. He ends up at a horrible school with a horrible coach, a horrible team atmosphere, bad culture, and he goes into the transfer portal and goes to a University of Maryland and wins a national championship.
That's a beautiful thing.
But so I'm like, well, why would I, under what scenario, should that kid be stuck at a bad school, bad program, bad coach?
You know what? And this has nothing to do with turf wars, and this is a whole different subject matter. But I understand you. There needs to be, in my opinion, at least some guardrails.
Oh, 100%. Now,
Needs to be some guardrails.
what's happened with NIL is, and I blame it all on the NCAA. I mean, they lost 4 Supreme Court cases 9-0. I mean, who gets 9 Supreme Court justices to say that you are bad? I mean, I don't know how you lose them all 9-0. I mean, you can't get these 9 justices to agree on what America is. Political commentation. I'm just saying, it's my own thing. It's not Malik Books. It's not the NFLPA. It's D. Smith. But yeah, so they lose all 4 cases 9-0. And then the day after they lose the last case, they say, okay, it's a Wild Wild West now. I mean, imagine if we had re-engineered this. And 20 years ago, the NCAA would have said, hey, look, is it right that Cheryl Miller can use her name, image, and likeness to pizza sponsorship, movie sponsorship, whatever it is? And she's entitled to that money because it's her. That's her name, image, and likeness. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to allow her to take 50% of the money, and we're going to put the other 50% of money in the trust. And then every year that she's at USC, that money is going to earn interest. And if she spends 4 years at USC, she's going to get the balance of the amount coming to her with interest.
I don't have a problem with that.
There is not a college athlete in the country that wouldn't have had a problem with that.
Absolutely.
And they did not do it. And now here we are, and there's no guardrails, and
Horses
everything's
out the
spinning.
barn, can't do anything.
Everything's spinning into the sun. And honestly, I think the strategy, and again, I don't know this, but I think the strategy of the NCAA is they want it to spin into the sun and burn down, and then say, we need to roll back these rules for NIL. I think that's what they want to do. So they want it to get so bad that people go, like Tommy Tuberville, who is a senator now. He's nearly as bad a senator as he was a football coach. That's just true.
True that.
That's just true. And, so this guy's talking about, and look, you listen to the coded language. We can't have these people making millions of dollars.
Well, anytime you use these people, you know exactly
who's you people.
But okay, with that being said, and
Yeah.
the temperature, the landscape is all changed because of NIL.
Yeah.
How well versed are the college athlete today with the unions and with the CBAs? Do they have any understanding of what's at stake? Or what their stake is in having that knowledge?
No. I just being dead honest. Just no. I think that having run a union of 2,500 players for almost 15 years, and how relentless I would have to go and teach, like locker room to locker room, what a union is, why we're better together, what's the history of this union. And that's just relentless because, again, the turnover is so fast, right? Every 3 years. I mean, we think about a guy like Tom Brady, and I think he's like 106 now, but, Tom.
And he says he can still come back and play.
And by the way, he could.
He probably could. He could.
He could. He could. He's a different cat. But a guy like Tom Brady has lived 30 NFL lives. Yeah. Right? I mean, you play that long when you think of a 3.3-year career average. He's played 30 careers. That's not the normal thing. So I think the problem with college athletes, or the difficulty of college athletes appreciating what's at stake, is you come into college and you're 18. And look, I got that call from Liberty, and I was like, bro, I'm going to Liberty Baptist. Right. And man, you are happy. You're just happy. You get to college, and that first year is like, wait, whoa, this is not high school. So your first year at any college, I don't care what your program is, your first year at any college is, man, I'm just trying to survive. Your second year, you think you kind of figure it out, and you're a little bit balanced. Your third year, you're an old person at that point.
You're a vet.
You're a vet at third year. So imagine trying to teach a group of people where the only people who could understand what's really going on are juniors and seniors. Yeah. And then by the time you get to a senior, I've only got one more year and you're out. So I think the challenge of educating a group of college athletes about what's at stake is there's such a disproportion of where they are on their college journey. And what worries me the most now with NIL is so many athletes are getting paid now. And I think that's great, Right. I have this question about how many people are paying their taxes. Because think about it. You're working at I'm working at Jerry's Sub Shop, you're working someplace. You're working for an employer who takes withholding. Mm-hmm. The way college athletes are being paid right now, they're getting all the money up front, and then the IRS is sending them a 1099 at the end of the year saying you have this tax debt. Right. My guess is that there is a long lag of the amount of college athletes paying taxes. And that is going to come as a reckoning. Mm-hmm. And I think the people who want to roll back NIL want to use that as a, see, we told you. And they'll use the coded language of, I told you these people couldn't handle this. That's what's going to be the language. And that's what they're going to use to go to Congress and try to say we need to repeal this whole thing. I mean, even Trump said it a couple of days ago. Among other.
I can understand.
I used to call it the Kennedy Center.
Trump says a lot of things.
It used to be the Kennedy Center. It's apparently not anymore.
There's going to be a lot of things with his name attached to it.
Yeah, just put it on toilets or something.
Buckle up for that one. Before becoming the executive director, at one point, professionally, you were on track to be a part of the Obama administration.
Yeah.
So how you're headed down, woo-woo,
Yeah.
first black president to off-ramp sports.
I know.
How does that happen?
I still don't know. I get a call, so I'm working on the transition team for the Department of Justice. I'm starting the background checks and meeting with congressmen to become the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Eric Holder, my good friend, my boss, old boss, was going to be the first black attorney general. I was going to be the U.S. Attorney in D.C.
You're on the fast track.
Oh yeah, the band's getting back together, it's great. And I get this call on my answering machine, and it's, and it's a headhunter, and it says, hey, you've been identified for a new opportunity. And I deleted it, and they called back, and I deleted it and called it back. I mean, they called like 4 times, and I deleted it because I know what I'm doing. And then a former partner of mine says, hey, this search firm keeps calling us because they've done background stuff on you, and you won't return their calls. And I said, Tom, I'm not interested in another law firm. And he said, no, they're interested in you being the, a candidate for the executive director of the NFL Players Association. And I said, that's literally the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of in my life.
Right.
I mean, I've never represented an athlete, never represented a sports team,
What do I do? What is it about?
Wrong number, whatever. And he was the one that convinced me to talk to the search firm. And so I did, and they said, and to quote, the search firm said, hey, look, you're not going to get the job, but the players want at least, we were looking at 300 people, the players want at least 10% of those people to have nothing to do with sports, and you have nothing to do with sports. And I said,
Top of the list.
thank you, yeah, check, A+. And that's how it started. And it gets to, so, the president's elected in early November. My resume is in this mix. And the beginning of December, I get a call, and they say, the players are in D.C., and you've made it to a group of 30 at that time. And the players are only going to meet with 10 people, but they want to meet with you. Whatever. I mean, a meeting's a meeting, you get to a certain age, and you're like, yeah, whatever.
What's the lose?
What could go wrong? And I will never forget walking into the Fairmont Hotel, and 2 things happen that are absolutely bizarre. I walk into the Fairmont Hotel, and that's the first time that, as a football fan, you walk into a room and you're like, damn, that's Brian Dawkins. Like, oh my God. And it's just, they're dressed in street clothes and they've got suits on, and it's, it's Brian Dawkins. And I look over and I'm like, damn, that's Jeff Saturday. And, so it's Mike Vrabel, and you're looking, it's Kevin Mawai. And I'm like, holy, yeah, these dudes are ginormous in like street clothes. I mean, and then, so that's the first thing that happens. It's absolutely crazy. And I'm just there to have a conversation. I have no idea what I'm going to say, but just there. And a guy comes over to me. He's got sort of a ill-fitting coat, jacket on. And he says, hey, before we start, would you like to have some water, or anything? And of course, I'm trying to be a little bit of a diva because I haven't played football since high school. And again, my high school coach is on a suicide watch. And this guy goes, hey, can I get you some water? And I'm like, yeah, that's great. I was like, hey, by the way, if you can grab me some sparkling water, that'd be fantastic. He goes off, and he kind of gives me this weird look. And he comes and he brings me a bottle of sparkling water. And then when he walks away, he sits with the players. And I thought it was like a hotel guy.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, oh, damn, that's Drew Brees. I just asked Drew Brees for sparkling water. This is all going to go so poorly. And then Brian Dawkins asked me the first question. I'm sorry, Kevin asked me the first question. He said, so tell us, why do you want the job? And I said, I don't. You guys called me, and I don't really want the job. I don't really think I'm qualified for the job. And Brian Dawkins said, and he just went on this litany, that Gene Upshaw passed away. The owners are going to lock us out. They want us to play 2 games for free. They want us to give back 20% of our salaries, and they want to eliminate our pensions. And we're looking for somebody who understands game theory. We're looking for somebody who knows how to fight, and we want somebody who is willing to go to war. And then that was the first time that I thought I was qualified for the job.
That was the hook.
That was the hook. When they said those 3 things, I was like,
Now, I've got a couple questions because it came down to, it was you, it was Troy Vincent,
Yeah.
and Trace Armstrong,
Yeah.
both former NFL players.
Presidents.
Presidents.
Yeah, presidents and players.
And former players. And is it fair to say they had the backing of the owners?
Oh, yeah.
You definitely, you weren't on the,
I was not on the.
you were
I was not on the plan.
the owners list.
No, and I think at the end of the day, I think it was a blessing, because I think the owners were absolutely confident that the players are going to pick a former NFLPA president.
Right.
And you know, and Gene obviously was a player, and so you know the beauty of you know ESPN calling me the outsider was really nobody kind of focused on me. So I didn't have any sort of the white hot spotlight of Troy and Trace and what they were going through. And honestly, my pitch to the players, my first line to the players was, hey, look, if you guys are interested in somebody you're comfortable with, somebody who's been in your locker rooms, somebody who knows the player community, somebody who knows the NFL, pick somebody else. That was my opening speech.
Right.
I know how to do these things. And then I kind of walked through the players of what I saw was the owner's game strategy, because I had done that for big companies. And when you kind of roll the credits back and kind of watch the movie backwards, right? You know, when the owners, you know, they had tried to remove the federal judge who had been supervising the NFL for 40 years. They had amassed a $4 billion war chest. You could see how they had lined up the media, right, in a way to kind of demonize the players.
They were prepared for the squeezing the players.
They were prepared for the squeeze.
Wow.
And so, you know, and looking back on it, and I didn't understand it back then, but one of the beautiful things about dealing with athletes is they all want a game plan. And if they think the game plan makes sense, man, everybody's good.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so I didn't really appreciate that. But as I'm kind of laying out okay, this is what our opponent's going to do, this is what I think we need to do. When guys start to sort of hear, okay, man, that makes sense. That's a strong game plan. That counters, that's the X to what they want to do. That's going to counter what they want to do. And I'm not saying we'll win. I'm saying we'll be able to fight. And that was the hook.
What was the biggest uphill, because you were a part of 2 brutal collective bargaining agreements.
Yeah.
Which one was the most taxing? And which one kept you up at night?
The last one.
Okay.
You know, the first one was easier because once players understood that they were in a war, being a wartime general is easy. You know, much like being a coach, you've got a really good opponent. And I think the best coaches, and again, I've never been in the locker room. Again, I make a lot of jokes about my high school coach because they're all true. But, you know, the thing that I always respected about that cat and even my college coach was he's not predicting a win. This is our game plan.
So the first one you said the second one
was the
difficult.
worst.
Now the first one, you talked about the owners assembling that $400 million or
$4 billion.
$4 billion
Yeah.
war chest, but you were able to assemble your own.
A little thing, right?
You had
a little
your
DC thing.
You had your own chest,
Yeah.
and not only that, and I think the element of surprise because as much as the owners may have, which they did, they knew about you.
Yeah.
They knew about your background. They knew how talented you were, and they tried to put you in a compromising position with your firm, correct?
100%. And look, they're brilliant. And there's a certain amount of you kind of tip your cap to your opponent.
Gamesmanship.
It's gamesmanship. So, Once they knew that I was going to be a final candidate, they went to my law firm, and they offered my law firm, the NFL offered my law firm a contract to represent the NFL. Which, man, you know.
You'd have done the same thing.
I would have done the same thing. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad it's me, but I'm not, you know, and so I have this, you know, great mentor and a guy named Tom Boggs. You know, Tom was by far the best lobbyist in the country. But, you know, Tom is like bigger than life. He's like a cartoon. But, you know, brilliant, smart, but also smoking cigars at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I get this note to come meet with Tom. And, you know, if you're meeting Tom at 9 o'clock in the morning, nothing's good. Nothing good's happening. So I knock on his door. He's got this ginormous office on the top floor of our law firm. He's puffing away on a cigar. It's 9:30 in the morning.
And the room is smoky.
The room is like filled with smoke, and you're like counting off how many lives you're gonna lose being in this room. Right. And I sit down, and he's chomping on a cigar, and Tom would kind of stare at you, you know. And so he pulls out a cigar, and he goes, "So this, you're still in it for this NFLPA thing, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, Tom, I'm in this thing, and by the way, I think I'm gonna win it." He goes, "Well, my good friend who owns the New Orleans Saints, we've known each other." Tom Benson, we've known each other for years, grew up together. Our daddies knew each other. You got to go through that story. Our daddies and his daddies and his daddies, whatever. And he goes, "Hey, I just have to tell you, the NFL just offered us a long-term contract to represent the NFL." And I go, "Okay, Tom, look, I get it. It's a great opportunity for the firm. I'm not going to ask for the firm to turn this down. I'll resign because I can't be at a firm that's representing the league and be in the position of running for the players." And I said, "Look, I'm willing to resign. Thanks for the meeting. It's great." And he just puffs on the cigar, and then he stops and he goes, "I told Tom Benson to go F himself."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, you're the right person for this job. I want you to get your ass to Hawaii. I want you to win the job because you're the right guy.
So you were put between a rock and a hard place because the players hadn't signed off on you.
No, I had no job. Yeah, as Eric has fantastically said.
Which the owners were counting on to put the squeeze on you.
Yeah.
Wow.
When I told Eric that I was giving up the job that I had for a job that I might get in March, I remember Eric Holder saying to me on inauguration night, "This is by far the dumbest thing you've ever done." And I said, "Well, when you put it like that, it sounds stupid." And he said, "Because it is stupid." And, but for me, I was never called to be a pastor. And I thought I would be, like my grandfather and like my father and like my uncles. But I never got that calling. But for whatever reason, once I was in the mix for this job, I felt it was a calling. And it just felt like it was the right thing. And when you're a part of something like that,
it was a mission.
It's a mission. And Tom, for Tom to back me in the way that he did, and also to do a thing that he didn't have to do, that was pretty cool.
Take me through your first year and what your experiences were, and I don't want you to get into it too terribly. Well, actually, I do. The owners.
Yeah.
What were they like? What were you anticipating? What didn't you?
Cheryl,
what weren't you prepared for?
Yeah, Cheryl. So I had represented, Boeing, Halliburton, Ford. I mean, I'd represented some of the top companies, and you meet the executives, and they're all type A. They're masters of, business. I really thought the owners would be like that they would just be hardcore business people, that it's not terribly emotional, it's not terribly personal. And that year was a shock because I found them to be incredibly petty, small, utterly emotional.
Petulant.
Just petulant. Like I couldn't get over, the way that I looked at the NFL studying it to come in, I'm like, hey, look, I don't know. I think revenue in 2009 was like $6 billion, $7 billion, which, you know, is a lot of money. I mean, this year the National Football League will do $24 billion, just to put it in perspective. Wow. $24 billion this year. So I looked at it as, if you were an executive that owned a team in a $6 billion industry that had no competition, man, why? I mean, I'd be the happiest dude on the planet. I mean, I'd be walking around with a juice box all day.
But they weren't.
They're just angry and petulant and upset. And I never met a group of people who, for the most part, were so dismissive. And again, my naivete, I mean, I come from a big law firm, Latham & Watkins, come from a big law firm, Patton Boggs. You know, I mean, there's a certain custom about how we deal with each other. And I was shocked at how dismissive and utterly just rude. I mean, like, you know, one of them, you know, and it's also the coded language, right? I just remember one owner, I don't know who it was, they had interviewed him about, you know, me, and he goes, well, you know, he dresses well and he speaks well.
You're not real black. You're not really black.
Right.
Because you're articulate.
Right. He's so articulate. And so, you know, we hear that and we're like, well, what did you expect? I mean, like, Nipsey Russell? I mean,
Little Schultz.
Only the old people in the crowd get that joke. So, yeah, and you're like, well, wait a minute. I mean, I represent the players. It's a job. I'm sure you don't treat the lawyers who are on the other side of your business deals like this. Why is there such a personal antagonism? And then the more it oozed out, you can put them all in the same category. They believe that every player in every sport, college or pro, should just be thankful. You should just be thankful. Aren't you happy? You get to play, you get to
in our league.
Yeah, you get to play in our league. You're doing the same thing you did when you were as a kid. Aren't you happy? And we hear, aren't you happy? And we want to punch somebody square in the face. Because I'm appreciative, but I'm not here because of some gift. I've worked my ass off to be here. I mean, there's only a rare number of people who get to do this. And I had to beat them all out. And now that I'm here, I'm literally fighting tooth and nail to stay here. And I think that is the Black American experience, forget sports, everywhere. Because we find ourselves in these rooms where most of the people don't look like us. We are clinging to staying there. We have to work twice as hard for half as much. We know that there's a network of people who get the hand up, the nepotism. I did a thing for, you know, the boardroom that talks about the lack of meritocracy. And you know that you are there because you have literally fought your way there. And I'm not angry about it, but I do feel a certain amount of disrespect from you when you're denigrating what I'm doing. And I'll, you know, there was an owner, I don't know, who cares, I put him in the book. You know, the owner of the Miami Dolphins ended up giving a speech during the fight for the lockout, and he said, well, you know, the NFL Players Association, well, that's not a real union because, I mean, after all, it's NFL players and they're getting paid a lot of money. Like, well, come on, man. Like, you run a team.
Well, it's such a disregard and a disconnect because they take the word owners a little too
literally.
Think about it.
I watch Django twice a month. I want 5 fights. That's who they are. They literally believe that they own this and that the amount of money that they have to pay you, they think of it as, I have to pay you to do this. and they hate it. And they think that every player should just be thankful to be a part of their universe. And so I kind of quickly shifted into this, and it's just facts. You know, the NFL has an antitrust exemption. You know, when the AFL and the NFL merged in the 1960s, they went to Congress and they got an antitrust exemption. What does that mean? If Lowe's and Home Depot merged, the price of a hammer would be what? $500. Because there's nobody else to buy a hammer from. The National Football League is the only place to get football. There's no competitor to the National Football League. So they don't have to compete by putting out the best product or making sure that, you know, like Campbell Soup, that your product tastes the same. They don't have to do that. They also have an antitrust exemption to share revenue together. And then the last thing they do is they have the ability to do singular television deals. So the way that I look at the National Football League is you, the owners, have not built this into the mega successful company that it is because you are brilliant. You have done it because the entire thing is built on a lie and a crime. So don't come to me that you have invented this thing when virtually all of you were born on third base and you act like you hit a triple. Just go somewhere and sit down. Right? And so, and I think the more that I would say that to them, the more offended they would get. But I have to say that to them because that's the only way that I can make sure that my guys, my membership understands, no. Roger didn't give you anything. They need you. Your power is the fact that they need you. And your way of getting to them is relieving them of you, right? And so to me, like it always bothered me that every NFL player calls every NFL owner Mr. Such and Such.
You have to tell the story how you changed that.
Oh, yeah.
And changed that for the players.
Brutally.
And where it actually started to upset the owners. Like they were looking across their players who, as owners,
Feeling a certain way.
they were feeling a certain way.
So we go into our first negotiation meeting, our real negotiating meeting, and you know, we've talked to the players about, look, negotiations are never what you think they are. I mean, we talked a little about the WNBA and what they're going through, and we're pulling for them, for the players. But these big meetings are, for the most part, performance, right? I mean, so, you know, we talked about what we wanted to say, how we're going to go into the meeting, and then right before we walk into the door, you know, again, I've got Kevin Mawai, I've got Brian Dawkins, I've got Drew Brees, I've got Mike Vrabel, Jeff Saturday, you know, just dogs. And I go, hey, by the way, when we get in this meeting, there is no Mr. Such and Such.
No, Mr. Croft, Mr.
You're going to call him Robert.
Mr. Jones.
No, you're going to call him Jerry. You're going to call him Clark, right? And then when it comes to Mike Brown at the Cincinnati, you can call him an asshole because that's what he is. But for the love of God, no one is calling them Mr. And I remember giving them that speech in the ante room right before we walked in, and I could see them.
They were uncomfortable.
Oh, Lord. I mean, I love our dudes to death, but it was like, and by the way, as soon as the meeting's over, I got a thing I got to tell you about Santa. Wait for it. But they were like, hey, D, that just seems disrespectful. And I said, hey, look, when you're at your team facility and the owner comes down and he tells you good game or good names, how does he refer to you? Great game, Brian. Great game, Tom. They all call you by your first name. When you respond to them, what do you say? Mr. Jones, thank you. Mr. Jones that. Mr. Rooney, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Clark. Hey, look, we'll bite that off for another day.
But for right now.
You're not a player. You're a union member representing your brothers back in the locker room. And you're sitting across from the negotiation table as men. Not player, not owner, as a group of people representing your brothers as men. So no one calls anybody by their last name in this room. And the first person, again, out of the box, and I saw him get through it, when Brian Dawkins called him Jerry. I wanted to get up out of the room, take a photo, and just leave, because that's the end of the day, right? And Jerry is like, you could just see the wheels spin.
If he could have called him boy.
Woo! He was just like,
You're forgetting something.
Brian, you make a good point. Like, right? But that, again, you get to the emotion side of this. If they are unwilling to meet us as equal partners at the negotiation table, I lose. I lose. And that equal partnership isn't something that they give us. That equal partnership status is something we take from them, right? So in the same way that offense is not given, it's taken, respect is not given, it's earned. And it was important for our guys just to get their heads around, just hit them in the face with the fact that you're going to be respected. And that, among the sports unions, I think that is the toughest thing that the sports unions have to deal with.
Changing that mindset.
Because, you're conditioned, right? And it's not your fault. It's just overly conditioned. And you actually believe you're thankful. I'm just blessed to be here. Right? And you see guys after...
I'd play the game for free.
Oh, my God. And I'm like, man, if you ever say I'll play the game for free, man, they're going to find you in a shallow grave. And I'll have an alibi.
Right.
But, that's the leverage that the owners are using on our dudes. And it has to stop. And I think... Can I segue just a little bit?
Please.
The best lessons that the men's sports unions can learn is from the women basketball players. I have never seen, by the way, if I could represent them, oh my God, I would have left the dudes like 15 years ago. Oh, I mean, but you think about that Atlanta Dream Team.
What they did.
Renee Montgomery.
Yes.
Beast.
Yes.
They not only achieved everything they wanted, but I have never heard of a sports union or any other union that forced their owner out.
Sure did.
Who puts a bullet in the boss? And so I look at that group, and I know that our guys got tired of me saying it. And I know, and I said it for that reason. I have never seen a group of athletes like the women's soccer players and the women basketball players make that respect earned.
Demanded.
And literally, if the men, and I mean the men of all sports, if the men had 50% of that willingness to demand respect, it changes.
And single-mindedness.
Literally. And there's all sorts of probably psychological reasons why the women are willing to play that hard. But you think about the U.S. women's national team and the NSSL who changed equal pay. I mean, the fact that they weren't getting paid equal. The ability of the WNBA players to literally effectuate that level of change. I mean, the owner that they ousted was a U.S. senator.
Yes.
Oh my God! I mean, that's the kind of stuff that legends are made of. And so, we talk about NIL, we talk about players, we talk about the people who are coming forward. I think the one thing that they understand better than the men is that they'll never be a part of the family.
Yeah,
This is our family.
yeah.
And I think that's, to me, one of the most emotional, beautiful things that I've ever been around. And I got to be a little part of what the women were doing in soccer and a little bit about what the women were doing in basketball. But, you know, that ability to make a decision that it's not them, it's us. Come on.
Let's, I want to talk about, in my opinion, there's so many fascinating characters in your book, but the relationship that I'm most fascinated with is Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
And you referred to him as, at one time, Law and Order Commissioner or Prince Valiant. And I've got to read this from page 19, and I've mixed up some of the paragraphs and shortened them, but you said Roger Goodell is Prince Valiant, hired and paid $63.9 million per year to clean up the owner's messes, do public battle, and further enrich the collective. His job is to ride out on a black horse, take the arrows, and be the face of an organization whose actual leaders prefer to remain in the shadows. So, no owner ever has to take an arrow, so they aren't the ones explaining their antiquated views on racial injustice or trying to explain the league's domestic violence policy or pretending concussions aren't turning some players' brains to mush. Roger does it for them. You see him and no one else because that's who the league wants you to see. What was your relationship from beginning to end?
Roger's a tough guy.
Complicated, it's complicated.
It's complicated. You know, our first meeting was at a restaurant in D.C. Right after I got elected, and look, it was pleasant, it was fine, but I'll never forget that at the end of the lunch, he reaches over and he undoes the NFL pin that he has in his lapel, and he puts the back on it, and he slides the pin over to me, and he says, "Hey, D, welcome to the NFL family." And I put my fingers on the pen and slid it back over to him and said, "I'll never be a part of the NFL family."
Oh, wow.
That was it. You know, and to me,
What was the look on his face? Shock?
bewilderment. I mean, I could articulate it into words. You know, again, I watch Django a lot. You know, there's that line of, "What's that dude doing on a horse?" That look. Yeah, you know, he wasn't hurt, he wasn't shocked, it was just bewilderment.
Right. Like,
And-
who is this dude?
And so, you know, Roger, I think, is a complicated human. I think that he embodies the NFL. He feels that he is the human manifestation of the National Football League. And he can be at least for the majority of our relationship, I would put it into the category as Roger's a bully. You know, he's got 31 owners. He's got an entertainment product that is 93 of the top 100 television shows every year.
Wow.
They earn $1.2 billion every year, regardless of wars, recessions, depressions. The only time the National Football League did not hit their revenue target was a worldwide pandemic. And in that year, they made $11 billion. In a worldwide pandemic. So he comes at this from a place where he never has to say please. He never has to say I'm sorry. Once he's made a decision, that train leaves the station, he never has to back up. Near the end, you know, the only way that I knew how to deal with somebody like that is to be as much of a bully, to be as, you know, resilient as he was being offensive. So, you know, when you think about all of the things that, you know, you probably read about in the newspapers, you know, Bountygate, the thing with the Saints. We litigated to the death. and it's brutal, and it's ugly, and it's nasty. It plays out publicly because I know that that's what I need to do. We move from that to Ray Rice. It's brutal. It's nasty. We go to that to Deflategate. It's brutal. It's nasty. We get to Colin Kaepernick. It's nasty. It's ugly. So, by the time we got to 2018, 2019, I think Roger had gotten to that point of he's not going away, right? So now maybe this is a guy that I have to negotiate with.
Exactly.
And so, look, near the end, we have our issues and we get the 20 deal done. But here's the irony about a guy like Roger. We have these fights for literally 12, 13, 14 years. And then during COVID, I don't know if you remember, he gives a press conference from his house in his basement. And he gives a press conference where he says, I want to apologize on behalf of the NFL because we got it wrong about Colin Kaepernick. We got it wrong about supporting the players and the anthem. We should have done better.
Where did that come from?
I don't know this for a fact, but I would bet every amount of money that I have that Roger did not have the permission of the owners to give that press conference. 100%. And Roger has an interesting history. I talk about it in Turf Wars. Roger's, because by the time we'd reached 2010, I'm realizing that I've got a difficult person that I can't figure out. And part of, like my superpower is like empathy. Trial lawyer, I can always try to figure out, okay, what a juror's thinking, what a witness is thinking. That's like literally what I kind of pride myself on doing. Roger was the first person I've ever met in my life that I just couldn't figure out and couldn't hack. And a former partner of mine called me one day and he said, well, do you know a little bit about Roger's father?
That's a great story.
And I said, no. And he began to tell me about Roger's dad. Roger's dad was a man named Charles Goodell. In 1968, Charles Goodell is a congressman from upstate New York. Robert Kennedy is assassinated. His father takes over Robert Kennedy's seat. His dad is one of the few pro-civil rights, anti-Vietnam War Republicans, senator. His father hires the first black chief of staff, head of communications on Capitol Hill. And so I go down this rabbit hole because now, I'll just admit to you, I've had this bromance with his father. His father's papers are at the New York Public Library, and one day I stumble upon a photo. It's his father's first day on Capitol Hill. He's sitting next to an African-American man named Alfred Coles, and he was the first black chief of communications, chief of staff ever on Capitol Hill. And they ask this African-American man, how would you describe yourself? And he says, I would describe myself as a responsible black militant. That's who Roger's father is. And now I'm looking at this dude, and I'm like, I'm 100% sure you're adopted. Right? I mean, like, hey.
That's all the explanation.
And so, the reason why I talk about Roger's father in the book a lot is you asked me, where did that come from? Where did that basement speech come from? And again, I don't know, and it's what we do. But I think there is a part of him that is reconciling with his father. And, he's been in this job for 19 years, almost 20 years. He's done the bidding of the owners. He's done everything they've wanted him to do. And now I think that there is this time where he's trying to reconcile, okay, who am I? And again, I could be
And what his legacy will be.
And what my legacy is going to be.
How am I going to be remembered?
And it can't be the guy that gets booed.
It can't be the first 10.
No, it can't be the dude that gets booed at the draft like he stole something.
Wow, yes.
I mean,
yes,
you know.
I mean, relentlessly.
Relentless. It's so much I can't even go anymore.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So I think, look, at least put it this way. That's what I hope he's doing. You know, and then weird things happen, right? You know, you have a halftime celebration last year with Kendrick Lamar, which, look, somebody was watching Django. That was the most political halftime show in history. And I know people, you know, in the aftermath were, well, you know, he snuck this in, or he did this, or that was a trick. I've been to the Super Bowl rehearsals. There's no sneaking of anything. So the only person who could have greenlit that,
Roger.
100%. And then the next artist is Bad
Wow.
Bunny.
Yes. Yes.
And he comes to the defense of why he's selected. So again, I don't know, but it's just interesting to watch how people balance and grow into themselves of who they want to be, or who they want to be remembered
Okay.
as.
I've got a few more questions.
Yep.
You open your book with your family's history and dedicate it to your ancestors, and it says, "To the bravest generation." Why was that so important and essential? And what do you want readers to take away?
I think that my parents are, you know, still with me, and it's, I mean, my dad is 95, my mother's 91. They grew up in an America that I couldn't imagine. You know, both products of segregated schools. You know, neither of them had running water until they were teens. My dad goes into the military, the Marine Corps, it changes his life. My mother goes to a segregated nursing school. And then both of them eke out a lovely middle class life for me. And so there's a part of me that...
And they shielded you from a lot.
A lot. I mean, I had the most fantastic childhood because I think they made the conscious decision of, we can't shield him forever, but we're going to shield him now. And
Allow you and your sister.
and grow into it, right? And I think, and so I think that if you look at their story matched millions of African Americans, you know, who made the Great Migration, mostly from the Jim Crow South to the North, where it was better than Jim Crow, but it wasn't easy. And I think at their core, all of them made a decision that they could be bitter, they could be angry, they could accept the roles that were put on them, but they decided to do something else. And so, you know, we talk a lot, or we read a lot about, the greatest generation, sort of that, you know, that we wrap around World War II. I think that our parents were the bravest generation, because they actually believed in and still believe in the promise of America. And yes, I mean, our country was founded by a bunch of founding fathers who owned slaves, and we can talk about it all day long, but here's where I come out on that. They may not have ever wanted an America where people were truly equal, but you know where they made the mistake? They wrote it down that it should be equal. I didn't use the words "a more perfect union." I didn't use the words "all men are created equal," but that's what you wrote.
We the people.
We the people, but that's what you wrote. And much like a contract, I'm gonna hold you to the contract that you wrote. And I think that our parents were the bravest generation because they continue to hold those people accountable to the contract that they wrote for America. And so, yeah, I think about them as the bravest generation. A really dear friend of mine gave me the first line of the book because I think so many stories aren't written from our perspective. And you know, one of my best friends in the world told me that, and she introduced me to this book called, you know, Things Fall Apart, and it's that Chinua quote where until the lion learns to write, all stories glorify the hunter. So it's our job as lions to write. Because if we don't, it's a different story. And you know, tonight we're a part of Malik Books, and by the way, that video was just fire. Can we give it up for Malik? Just
yes.
Right.
Yes.
But the idea of, you know, young women, young men, kids reading, you know, they need to read stories written by lions that look like them. And anyway.
What do you want people, last question, how would you like your legacy to be summarized?
Wow. That he was authentic, you know. There's one section of the book, I think that, do you mind if I read it?
Please.
Is that okay?
Please, please.
Like home, you know, we talked about home and we talk about our families, and my favorite chapter of the book is a chapter called Homestead. And I just want to read a couple.
Yes.
I just want to read a couple of paragraphs. But there's a small Baptist. There's a small Baptist church in Dry Fork, just 50 yards off of State Route 718, where we gather once a year as a family. We call it homecoming. When I was a kid, long before seatbelt laws, my dad would carry us to the car in the middle of the night, sliding us into the makeshift bed in the fold-down back seat of his Plymouth Barracuda. Lucky kids, we would drive through Charlottesville, where the smart kids studied literature and law, before parking in the churchyard in time for my papa's sermon, a man named Frederick Douglass Smith. It's because of my grandfather that my father hoped that I would be a pastor. And for the most of my youth, I could not think of no better path than the one following in this man's footsteps. But at homecoming, I wasn't a lawyer, I wasn't a union leader, I was Smitty's son, the baby boy's baby boy. And even after I became a teenager and crossed into adulthood, the ritual stayed consistent. But as I entered my 20s, I began noticing a change. Not in my relatives, not in homecoming. I noticed the change in me. So if I had to pick like the legacy, I remember that change in me, realizing that it was inextricably tied to these people who lived in this land, who overcame things that I can't imagine, overcame things that I would never want for my kids. And all of those people gave me this power to be authentic, unapologetic, because I knew no matter what I had to do as a lawyer or as a union leader, that they would always accept me back there for who I was. And so being Smitty's baby boy's baby boy, man, that's a cool ass thing to be for the rest of your life. That's it.
I'm just gonna tag this by saying there are different forms of ministry, and you found your mission.
God bless.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Man, I love you to death.
I'm telling you, please, you have to read this book. It is so well written, so illuminating, so honest, truthful, and for you to come full circle and give Roger Goodell grace for not only for himself to forgive himself, but a chance for him to see himself how he may want to be moving forward.
That's what we do.
That's what you did.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
and thanks for
guys.
coming out
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you. We got a little time for Q&A.
Yes, we have a,
And,
please.
Yeah, so you can line up behind me. I'm gonna ask the first question.
Yeah.
But you can line up behind me. Thank you for your story and thank you for your truth.
Thank you.
I mean, it's much needed and I appreciate it. My question is, the NFL has often been compared to, that is the draft and the combine to the auction block during slavery. Have you ever had to address that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the first fights that Roger and I got in with was, I'm done with that box. You know, where you're standing on the box with your hands out and somebody's measuring you. That was one of the first fights that we ever had. And again, they don't do that anymore. But the combine is still the most reductionist human inventory of anything I've ever seen. And most people don't get sort of the insidiousness of the combine. Everybody already knows how high you can jump, how fast you can run, how much bench you can press. The reason why they want you to go to the combine is the combine means that you get examined by 32 team doctors. And then they put you in an MRI. So, don't equate that with what happens once you sign a contract. When you sign a contract, you go to the team and you have a physical with the team, and that physical is about whether you are physically capable of doing the job of football. So if that's what happens after you get signed, what's the combine medicals for? The combine medicals are for, you're a linebacker and you run a 4.640. He's a linebacker, he runs a 4.640. You both bench the same, you both jump the same. You know what the combine medical is for? They want to know that you had a knee injury when you were in college. So you're going to go to the 5th round. He's going to go to the 2nd round. And the combine medical is a way of making you take less money for something that happened to you in the past. Wow. That's the combine. I know. Wow. I know everybody here is like, damn.
Appreciate both of you guys coming tonight. Great experience. My question is for DeMaurice Smith. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what's going on with the Chicago Bears and the speculation that they may move to Northwest Indiana. Do you have any type of insight or what you think may happen, may not happen?
Look, I think that all those things come down to, and again, the reason why the National Football League is the most successful socialistic business in America is the reason they want to leave is because they don't think they're going to get the stadium offsets from taxpayers than Indiana that they will. So, you think about the fact that taxpayers are paying for the private industry of a billionaire owner. It would be like me deciding that I want to build a nice house, and I go to my city council and I say, I need taxpayer money to build my house. And when people come to my house to eat, I'm going to charge them. Then I'm going to keep the money. When they come to park their car, I'll park their car, but they're going to pay. I'm going to take that money. And then what am I going to give back to the taxpayers? Zero. So why taxpayers want to build these billion-dollar profit centers for billion-dollar owners is beyond me. You think about the Buffalo Bills. At the end of that deal, taxpayers are going to pay $1.4 billion for that Buffalo Stadium. Now, the reality is a Democratic governor signed off on that deal. 2 weeks later, she had to cut funding to aid for dependent families and women by $500 million. And Terry Pagula parks his $100 million yacht at the Hudson River so he can watch his daughter play at the US Open. No. And to me, that is just offensive. And I think, fans sort of get into this of, you know, we have to keep the Bills here, we have to keep the the Washington team here, or somebody else. Where are they going to go? It's okay. A guy like Terry Pegula, who's worth probably 18, 19, 8, 10, 12, 15 billion dollars, let him build his own house.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, the voice behind the book, and it's such a pleasure to finally hear and meet you. I grew up in Tennessee, which I know is a motherland for you and your family.
Yeah.
Cheryl, your Aunt Tiny, babysat me growing up, so yes. So I've heard about.
Heard about you.
Yes. So I've heard about. I've always thought about culture and sports and the impact. I've heard about, your father and I, hearing from Aunt Tiny. What if he had played at Memphis State? What if race relations had been different? I think, wow, if we could have had Cheryl Miller at UT Vols or Reggie Miller as a Memphis State Tiger, that blows my mind. So thinking about sports and its impact on culture, the question I have is about immigration. So when it comes to immigration and its impact on sports or vice versa, where do you see it going, being in the next 4 years? We have the World Cup, Super Bowl, All-Star Game, Olympics here in a place where ICE is very prevalent. Do you think sports will impact immigration more? Or?
That's a good question. That's a great question. I mean, I hate to be like a realist, but no. I mean, if you think about this year, there was a Duke player, right, who was on a visa playing at Duke. Weirdly, his athletic career of Duke is over, so therefore the justification for his visa is over. But who rallies to make sure that he still gets an NBA contract? So, what I think is going on in America, the most insidious thing that's going on in America is that America has now become 100% for sale. And if it's in the best interest of a handful of billionaires, then it happens. If it's in the interest of normal working people, and look, I'm thrilled for what happened to the Duke student, but think about how many stories we have heard about college students going to college who get deported. It just so happened that other college kid didn't serve the ends of some billionaire industry. So I think, if you look at what happens in sports, sports is the best example of how everybody cuts the corners to make it okay for them. But when it comes to you and me, there's no reason to do that. Yeah.
Hello, good evening. My name's Adewale Odia.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I work in venture capital. But the question I have is about Shedeur Sanders. And how do you feel about the process that he went through from draft to now? And do you think he'll be able to get a fair shot in the NFL?
I think he'll be able to get a fair shot because, I'll answer the second part first. I think he'll be able to get a fair shot because the reality in the National Football League is at any given time, there's like 6 good quarterbacks. I mean, that's just reality, right? There's like 6, in football world, we call it 6 good quarterbacks and everybody else is just a guy. And serviceable, manage the team, but there's always just like 6 that next level. So there's always going to be a team that wants a person who's better than just a guy. What I will say about Shedeur, and this is just from my perspective, I have never seen a player in the National Football League come into the league as hated as that guy. I mean, when Eli was coming into the league, he famously said, or his dad famously said.
Sure did.
Right? He's not going to play for that team. That is the only time I know in history where the league said, okay. And that was because he had a brother named Peyton. Shedeur says the exact same thing as Eli, and he's demonized. So look, again, I don't know, but I do know that we talked a little bit about NIL. And by the way, I think the best analogy, we all remember when David Stern lost his mind over the baggy pants, the Allen Iverson, and we're not gonna do that. I think there is a certain reaction that the NFL owners are now having with NIL players who come in with a level of brashness
And money.
And the league, among all of the sports leagues, there is no sports league more militaristic than the National Football League. Of this is us, it is not players, it is the shield. And I think to a certain extent that Shador became the test case for the NFL owners saying, that is not going to happen here. That's my guess.
Do I need this? Okay. Hey, thanks a lot, D.
Thank you.
I enjoyed the talk up there, some things that you discussed. Let me ask you this. You know, at the end of one of those, I guess after your third year there, the new contract the players had.
Yep.
Did the owners give you $1 million bonus?
I don't work for the owners, so no.
No?
No.
Oh, okay.
Like I got $1 million bonus?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I guess LA.
And I think that you need to find the dude who told you that, and you need to push him off a pier.
Okay, let me say this then. Okay.
By the way, it's not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent,
Because you were always, I mean, that was always the floater, but that was more so to get the players to turn.
100%.
That somehow that, you know,
100%.
that
That
the
I've got a
owners
secret
had,
deal.
the owners and Goodell had your ear, and that there was some, below the table dealings going on.
And look, I get that because this is an unregulated industry. And you've got 31 billionaires who have no SEC oversight, no board of directors, no 10Ks, no 10Qs, and for the largest time that I was there, they were a nonprofit. So, the reason I frame it that way is if any of you were those billionaires and you knew that you had no oversight and no one would ever come to tell you or to arrest you, what would you do? 100%. So I never worked for the NFL. No owner ever gave me a dime.
Okay.
I would never take one. And I became very comfortable with sweeping my office because we would find bugs. And I became comfortable with having security out in front of my house because of the death threats.
My goodness.
Because I'm willing to play the game only one way.
Yeah.
I was that cat on a horse.
You know, I got a kick out of you saying that the players come up there and give the commissioners a big hug with those costumes, wild-looking costumes. Most of them wear on draft night.
Yeah.
I also got a kick out of how they've changed a little bit in the last 2 or 3 years. I don't watch too much of it now, draft nights, but how they always had somebody who didn't look like them, their brother, their father, a white person, their agent, with the family there, doing all the hugging and stuff. And I mean, you know, you pick and choose who you want to represent you, but I used to be an agent, so that's why I know a little stuff. A little bit. But I kept my day job. Sorry, people. I kept my day job. It's something I enjoyed doing. As a matter of fact, I went on national TV saying that at the time the league, 7% black, but 90% of them had people who didn't look like their brothers, their fathers, to represent them. They hired those the people they hired. And we're talking about jobs and also coaches too. Some of the black coaches who were lucky enough to get jobs up there, they also chose somebody to, they hired people who didn't look like them. And, you know, I just found that interesting. Matter of fact, I was going to write a book for my experience as an agent. But I kept my day job, so I was smart.
100%.
Yeah. And like I said, it was before you came up there, so I was doing that. And it's, but you mentioned something about taxes too. You're absolutely right. Some players, I used to talk to. I see them every once in a while. You know, they recognize me more so than I recognize them. They'll drag up to you and talk. And I said, "How's everything going?" I said, "Okay." I said, "You're not. The tax people are not coming after you, are they?" He said, "How do you know that?" He said, "I've been trying to get in touch with my agent." I said, "You ain't gonna get no return call on that." You know, and I said, he said, "You know, Mr. Reese, my mom always said I should have gone with you." I said, "No, you know, you pick and choose who you want to go with." But I was going to write a book from my experience dealing with that. Oh, okay. And that's it. You know, I'm glad you. By the way, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Roger Goodell has a black nephew.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we don't hang as much as we used to. But thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm gonna ask one more, and then I think he wants to ask a question.
Yeah, name it.
I guess my other question was, let me let him ask here so to come back to me. Hold on.
Yeah. What's up, brother?
What's up, Ben? How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
It's funny. I resonate a lot with what you said about the Shield. I worked for the NFL Network for over 10 years, and it's all about the Shield, nothing else. So I understand. I guess my question is, maybe this is common knowledge, but why did your tenure end?
Yeah. I did 15 years. And, you know, one of the things that I write about in the book, because I don't apologize for giving a lot of hard shots in the book, but I also made the decision that if I'm going to deliver hard shots of other people, I'll take hard shots against myself. You know, the job was hard. And there were times when, you know, I had a period of time when I talk about it in the book. Drinking way too much in order to deal with the stress. I had a moment where for almost 4 months I had TMJ. And so I'm going to the office and I'm getting shots in my jaw so I could go to work. And then the last thing I would say to that is I spent so much time on the executive council of the AFL-CIO of all the major union leaders in the country, and it became clear to me that union leaders don't live long. They don't. Gene was 62 years old. He went into the hospital on a Wednesday and died on a Sunday. And so at some point, you have this awareness that you are not indestructible and that my job is not to die in this job.
Got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
You too.
But you need to also let him know you went out on your terms.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And I know I get a
You
little...
fought for that last, but not a lot of people can write their own ticket on the way out, and you were able to do that.
And I think that's important, right? Because, you know, so much of what we do as people of color fighting in these jobs, we're clinging to them, you know? And so at the end, I knew I wanted to get the 2020 deal done. That was important to me. It was a good deal for the players, massively increased revenue. You know, 70% of our men are on minimum contracts. Let me say that one more time. 70% of NFL players are on a minimum contract. So that deal raised minimums by $250,000 overnight. So it was a good deal for us. And for us, you know, then I knew I wanted to leave. Then we go through COVID. I thought it was terrible. I can't leave the players during COVID. But to your point, once I got there, I also made the decision that I'm going out on my terms. I don't think that's selfish in any way. I think that's how athletes foot stomp, right? The way in which we play the game. And after that, it was time to go, primarily because I'm afraid of my wife.
Good answer.
Dead on.
The last Q&A question
Yes, sir.
I wanted to ask you was, what would you have liked to be in the book that's not in the book?
Taller. just taller. Yeah. It's true. Like, my kids are like, hey, Webster's going to play you in the movie. I'm like, yeah, we all love our kids, but we love our daughters more. Do you have one? Do you want to? Yeah, go ahead.
Will you ever think they have a black ownership?
I'll answer the question with a question. I would be worried about what our expectation would be if there was a black owner. Just being dead honest, right? So I think if we have this expectation that because we have a black owner, that we will somehow arrive at some sort of post-racial nirvana. We already saw what happened when we had a two-term black president. So I think that we change our expectation and simply fight for the things that we believe are right.
Thank you for being here.
I did not know that wait, is this true? About half of the league's teams are family
100%.
controlled or generationally inherited.
Yeah.
Only 15 or 16 teams out of 32.
It's not a meritocracy.
It really isn't.
No. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here, first of all, and Cheryl as well. I'm concerned now, too, with the Olympics coming in 2028. Do they ever have any representation? And maybe I think that would be grandeur. I mean, I think you would be great.
That is not going to happen.
No.
No, but they need it, right? Olympic athletes, I would argue that Olympic athletes are probably the most exploited athletes out there.
No doubt.
Right? I mean, you think of the Olympic Committee is a 100% nonprofit. The International Olympic Committee is its own nation. They're not subject to any country's rules. So they utilize and steal the name, image, and likeness of Olympic athletes, pay them nothing. So, do I think that, people talk about, we talked about college athletics. I actually think there's a better chance that Olympic athletes get unionized before college athletes, because you're dealing with a much smaller subset of people at the highest level of their game, and you actually know that there's this group of people who are likely to be in the Olympics one day. So, there is no group of athletes who are exploited more than Olympic athletes. And all of that profit goes to the Olympics. And they have sort of a quasi, I think they call it an athletes panel, where they listen to the athletes or listen to their grievances. But if you can't dictate your own destiny, you're begging. And so, look, I think that, much like FIFA, it operates in a way that has no accountability whatsoever. And I think that's the beauty of what unions, sports unions, and again, one final shout out for the WNBA players who are fighting for their first real fair CBA. Man, respect is not given, respect is earned. And you usually have to take it from somebody and put it on your shoulders. Man, thank you guys for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Give it up, give it up, give it up. Now we're gonna do the book signing now. And so we're gonna line up right behind me. If you have a book, he's available to sign it, take some photos, but we're gonna go one at a time, all right? Give it up for Cheryl Miller. Wonderful conversation. Come on. So we're gonna come one at a time. We have books available in the back too for sale.
Yes.
brothers that be stand up in the courts. I'm not the only homie in the hood going through this. I'm a living witness, I'ma show you how to do this. Don't let nothing turn you around, get your money, man. Watch them haters on the outside, they try to change your plan. And keep a third eye on them shorties with their hands out.